Hello and welcome to my Hornby Model Railway, Bedstead Junction. Now in this video you are going to see two locomotives in operation, and they're going to be both British Rail Standard Class 4s. They were built during the 1950s, okay, and you're going to be seeing one model by Hornby and another model constructed by Bachmann. They're both from two different eras, in that I believe I bought the Bachmann one in the late 1990s, whereas the Hornby model was, as far as I'm aware, was launched in 2008, my particular one. Okay, so you've got about 10 years apart in locomotive development, okay, and we can have a look at the main differences and pros and cons of each, and I hope you enjoy watching. Thank you very much. Right, so what we're doing is we're having a close-up look at the Hornby model in lined black. Now, when I first got this model, it was extremely jerky, jerk. It kind of the wheels were spinning round, and they were getting to a sticky point about there. They were sort of spinning round, stick, jam. Okay, now I did find out what that was in the end, and I did do a good explanation of what that was all about in one of my previous videos. Now we're just going to do a quick check of the points. And we're going to watch this model come out. So now we'll just see if we can brighten this screen up just a little bit. Okay, so we brighten things up a little bit there as well. That's one good thing about this new camera. I've got easy access to the settings for the exposure, and I can see quite well on there. Now, I don't know how well focused we are, but we shall watch this one hopefully gracefully leave the station. And there was no possibility of it doing that as it was. Okay, running really well now, really good control on it. So it's waiting on the signal now, ready to go. Whizzing through the level crossing, and that's quite a nice view to have, quite a good action shot. And this is the Hornby. Now what I would say is, now you're talking about two different models from two different times. When I bought the Bachmann version of this model, I thought, wow, it was a bee's knees. Okay, I really thought, what a handsome looking locomotive, loads of detail and everything else. But what I would say is that when Hornby built this one, going through to now, they definitely upped their game massively. They definitely upped their game to produce this model. The detail on it is absolutely superb in my opinion. The Bachmann isn't bad, but it's got a lot more moulded detail on it. You can tell it's from a slightly different time. I still like the Bachmann, okay. But this Hornby one, well, what can I say? Now these BR Standard Class 4 460s are designed for mixed traffic use, okay? Mixed traffic meaning you can be expected to be pulling either a freight train or a passenger train. And it's usually called the typical Class 4 MT, MT meaning mixed traffic. Now this one is been brought up to times as far as the actual loco is concerned, because it's putting the right period coaches, in my opinion. It's putting BR Mark 1 coaches. It's a very, very nice runner now. I'll explain to you what was causing the problem. It was a cover for the worm drive. You want the motor is held down by one screw, but at the back is clamped down further by the worm drive cover that goes on. Now if that worm drive cover is pulled down too tight, it will press the worm drive too hard down onto the cog, onto the drive cog. And I think I explained in a little video about that in my previous video. If you want to know about the technicalities of that, is all it took was for me to bend the bracket for the worm drive cover down just a little, so it had the effect of lifting it up, raising it slightly, and that way it wasn't pressing the worm drive so tightly down. And now it's running absolutely beautifully, as you can see. They were designed by Robert Riddles. He became Chief Mechanical Engineer of British Rail. These were designed in Brighton with input from Swindon, Derby and Doncaster, and a total of 80 standard class 4s were built between 1951 and 1957 at BR Swindon Works, which would have been the works for the Great Western Railway, or as we would have called it after nationalisation, the Western Region of British Rail. Some were later built with double chimneys. This example is built with a single chimney. But both my locomotives are a single chimney. Now some locomotives, that apparently all of the class 4s allocated to the southern region, received double chimneys, following Charles at Swindon, which proved that steaming capacity was much improved. The final 9 due to be built were cancelled due to the British Railway modernisation plan. 75000 to 75064 were allocated to London Midland region and Western region, which were BR2 or BR2A inset tender, 3,500 gallons as standard. Numbers 75065 to 75079 were allocated to Southern region and came with BR1B tenders of 4725 gallons due to the lack of trackside water troughs. That is something to bear in mind while I'm watching this locomotive go around the layout, that the Southern region had no water troughs. Now there was a reason for that. Now there was a great deal of electrification on the Southern Railway with third rail. So their locomotive tended to have bigger tenders. Now you're going to see the locomotive flying through my countryside station. So away it goes. Quite a nice view of it going through there. It sort of gives you the impression of actually going somewhere, doesn't it? And by not seeing the whole of the layout, okay, you see it go past time and time again, but it does give the impression of actually being somewhere. I say it's got BR Marine coaches here, BR Mark 1 coaches. So this one we got here, 75062 I think it is. We'll check. Yeah, this one would have been allocated to the Western region of British Rail. Well, sorry, the Midland or the Western region of British Rail, which is my locality. The Western region of British Rail was the successor to the Great Western Railway. Now the Midland region, also Midland trains did come down into Bristol, Temple and beyond. So this is very much would have been the West Country engine in my opinion. Very, very nice. Beautiful runner, as you can see. Yes. Well, it was 75062, which is my engine here. It was actually a Midland region engine. It was outshot from Swindon on the 31st of May 1957 and allocated to the Midland region. The engine completed 117,000 miles before being called for an intermediate overhaul in August 1960. 75062 was withdrawn on the 29th of February 1968. And that was really getting towards the end of British rail steam, and it was eventually cut up by wars on the 30th of June 1968. So this one would have been a Midland engine. I say, but the Midland locomotives were known to come into, but they did have running powers into Bristol Temple Meads. What a lovely engine. Now I'm quite enjoying this running session. I'm going to stop the train just up by the signal. Now we're looking at, just for contrast, the Bachmann version here, and what they add on these. We can get a good close-up look. Inside the wheels here, you had plastic inserts, and they went soft and swelled. Okay, and what they would do is that they would press against the connection rods, and in extreme circumstances would break the engine, which happened to me unfortunately. We've got a little bit of touching up to do on one of the spokes there. Now the only answer to it ultimately is, when you get that problem happening, and it's not happening with all the wheels on here, is to remove the insert, pardon me, cut out the weight and glue the weight in place, which is in there, and then paint this centre, because those spokes come out silver, paint those spokes black. Now from a certain distance back from where I'm sitting, apart from where I needed to just do a small little bit of touching up just there, finishing touches on the painting, you wouldn't even know that I'd remove that insert. So if you've got those, if you've got one of these old Bachmann models, split chassis, and they've got these plastic inserts, and they're swelling, when they're swelling, you can see where they're swelling, they're pushing out in the middle, and they're rubbing against the connection rods. Cut your losses. All you need to do is take out the crank pin, pull out the insert, just cut the weight out, glue the weight back in, and Bob's your uncle, paint it black. You would already know, and it does, and it will stop the locomotive from having running difficulties. The first you'll notice there'll be a wobble from side to side. That's the first sign of something going drastically wrong there. Okay. Now also, we'll have a look, because we're going to be comparing the Hornby model with the Bachmann model, and what I'd like to do is to put the two side by side. So just bear with me just one moment. Right, now hopefully we're going to see this locomotive glide gently and gracefully into the station. So let's watch it go. Has no problems like actually handling the points. Slow that right down to almost to a stop now. Perfect. We'll just change the angle slightly so we can see the locomotive more clearly. I'll be able to see now. brilliant. Okay, so that level of control would not have been possible as it was before. Now, one of the problems that can occur with this locomotive, and in fact with almost any Hornby locomotive, and it's very, very random, to actually connect the motor to the wheels, there's a series of drive cogs, and they can actually split. Okay. Now the problem we've got here, and this is going to be the same for anybody who's got one of these models, is that the actual drive gear set is virtually unobtainable. You cannot get one for love or money anywhere. I have scoured the earth. The only possibility you would have, if you wanted the exact gear set, is to maybe buy another model that's maybe broken and cannibalise it. Okay, not really a good solution in my opinion, but apparently I've gone online and did some research, and someone has actually told me that if there's two lots of cogs, and there's a top cog that very often seems to be breaking, and it looks like a kind of a double cog, you can actually put one in from a Hornby Star class. Now, if that's the case, I've got one. I've got a spare gear set, so we'll see if that happens. I might give that a try, just for information purposes, just so that you would know that you can actually save your model in the event of that kind of calamity happening. Now, the first sign of it happening is that is rather drastic. The model will just simply stop moving forward. The motor will be frantically buzzing away. You'll hear the motor going, and you'll have no connection to the wheels because the cog split. Okay, if that happens, I would say I'm going to have a look. I'm going to do another video, and I'm going to see if a Star class cog will go in there. If it does, then we're saved. Okay, we're saved. At the moment, this seems to be running okay. Now, a quick comparison, and we are going to go handheld. In fact, I don't think we will. No, I don't think we will. I'll just show you. We're looking at the Hornby model now. Now, if we have a look, all of the pipework on top of the boiler here, and we'll have a look at that in a minute, everything here is separately fitted parts. Okay? And you've got cab glazing on both models here. I've just noticed actually there's a bit of glazing on the back, on the tender there, presumably so you could see when you're running tender first. Like I say, but all that pipework on top of here is separately fitted parts. That pipework there is separately fitted. Now, one of the problems I had when I first got this model as well was that the chimney had fallen off. I think Sam's Trains did some work on one of these, and we'll talk about what Sam discovered as well, because his video, he did a salvage or scrap on one of these models. Okay, might not be the exact engine number, but it's the same model. Okay, from the same period of time, and you can see what he did to actually bring his model back to use. And in fact, he did manage to find a cog that he managed to adapt a gear set to actually get his going. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Now, let's take a look. Now, we're going to go. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to go handheld for this. You can see the main differences. Now, you can clearly see the pipework on top of this locomotive here is separately fitted, whereas on here it's moulded. And again, those pieces there, that pipework there is moulded. That's a separately fitted part there. Also, and it's something which I don't want to do, okay, because I don't want to pull the plug out. It's got one of those plugs which plugs into the tender on this one. Is to be able to see the cab in all its glory, you'll probably need to separate the loco from the tender. So I might only do that, show you that detail, if I ever do a servicing video on this again. Again, probably the valve gear you can see a lot different. It's a little bit more crude on the Bachmann model. But you have to remember, when this model came out, possibly about 10 years before this one, they're 10 years apart. This one was, I looked at that and thought, wow, look at the detail. Other differences on this one, the cab vent, sorry, a bit shaky there, I've got a hand in the way. The cab vents move here, and they're static on the Bachmann model. Also the coal load, much finer coal load here compared to the Bachmann model. Okay, so I hope I'm in focus here. Okay, so those are your main differences. But really, from a distance, I mean, this Bachmann model is still a very, very smart model in my opinion. Very smart looking model. And for its time, it had a certain amount of wow factor to it. The Hornby model, obviously, much more finer detail on the Hornby model. And it's not split chassis, which means that it's DCC, can be DCC converted, in fact it's DCC ready. Now hopefully we're going to see the Bachmann model leaving the station. Now, one thing to bear in mind about the Bachmann model is that it does not have any tender pickups, and yet it handled that point work perfectly well. And if you had an 060, you wouldn't have tender pickups, would you? Or an 040. Yes, it's a great benefit to have tender pickups in the locomotive. But this model seems to manage without them. Now there might be a slight interruption in the recording. I might have been actually stopped in the middle of a sentence. I don't know why it stopped recording. It might be that the camera's overheated, I don't know. It's certainly the battery's not run out. It just suddenly stopped recording, and the light turned on green. Now maybe there's a recording limit, so I don't know. I don't think there should be. It should be an hour limit on this one. Anyway, that's my new camera. But let's just watch this one go around now. Now you can see this Class 4, standard Class 4 by Bachmann, is running rather happily through the station. Because the camera turned itself off again, I'm about to turn up the brightness as slow as slightly again. You can see I can actually turn up the brightness on this camera. So please excuse any kind of weird camera work that's going on at the moment. I'm learning the use of this Canon V10 camera at the moment, and I get to get the best out of it. Would I recommend this camera? I would recommend it wholeheartedly. The two things that people are pointing out: one, it's got a built-in battery, but it will run from it will actually operate from an external power supply. In fact, I've got this one running from a power bank before, and so that's not so much of an issue, and I can actually charge it from a power bank and also operate it from a power bank or an electrical socket. And also, I did a video on this one, or on this subject already. Some people have said that this should have come with a proper lens cover rather than a lens cap. That is actually catered for in one of my videos on my channel. So if you want to find out about that, that might put your mind at ease about buying one of these cameras. I would say, to be honest with you, I mean, look at the results for yourself, okay? I'm learning how to use this camera. So, I'm getting on quite well with it. Look at all the reviews and make your own mind up. Well, here we go, let's get back to our locomotive. Our standard class 4. Yes, I mean the motors in these are really, really good, strong motors. No doubt about it. I should imagine that if it wasn't for those wheel inserts, a lot of these locomotives would have gone on forever. Also, you can get, as far as I'm aware, you can get replacement axles for these locomotives. That is the main objection about split chassis locomotives, is that they can suffer from axle problems. Now I just heard the track come apart slightly. Let's just give that a squeeze. We've seen this all good life stuff. There we go. That's solved any problems there. Right, so it may be, I've had to move the track around a little bit to get this, to get everything to fit in today. I'm running this layout. Everything you see here is on a 6 foot by 4 foot board, okay, baseboard. And really, to be honest with you, when you're like that and you're running express engines, you're actually going to be squeezing it. What is squeezing a quart into a pint pot. Okay, so, and that's what you're doing here. But really, what I can run on this layout, I can perhaps only run one train at a time, fair enough. But I can have 4 trains on the layout and alternate them as and when required. And also BR1 Mark 1 coaches will actually fit in my sidings now, running into my main station. Now, I'm going to go into something. I'm going to stop the Bachmann model, and I'm going to show you something which you get on the Hornby model, which you won't necessarily get on the Bachmann. Right, so I don't know how clearly you can see this, but there is brass pipework just back here, just under the cab, quite intricate. You don't get that on the Bachmann model. Okay, the Bachmann split chassis. I don't know if any of their later releases were jazzed up a bit on the Bachmann, but the Hornby, that's something you do get. And as well, a lot more pipework here is separately fitted. This model is covered in separately fitted parts, and considering it's from 2008, in fact, a lot of people would say that the early 2000s through to sort of through to maybe the late 2000s were in many ways Hornby's finest hour. They made some cracking models in those times, and this is an example of that. The actual class 4, on my experience at least, is a model I can happily recommend. Hornby. Bachmann, if you do pick up a split chassis Bachmann one, I mean, you would have to go through possibly a lot of repair work to make it run properly. But they do, but like I say, the mechanism on the Bachmann, they're quite strong motors, flywheel motors, and the actual motor wise, they do seem to be quite reliable. These Modern Railways Unlimited, you will also see one of these shown. Okay, and he had problems with his motor, but his was a much later issued model compared to this one. Back in the mid 2000s, Hornby were really sort of doing a really good job. Oh, something which you don't get on your Bachmann model is sprung buffers. Sprung buffers front and back. Okay, so this model really is a magnificent model. You also get a separately fitted smoke box dart, which I don't know how well you can see that. Let's move the camera around slightly. But there is a separately fitted smoke box dart on that one. The Bachmann model will be moulded. Okay, so let's move the camera view over. And we'll just watch our Bachmann go through the station. Now, the coaches. I had a little bit of trouble finding these coaches. And like all things like buses, you wait for hours, you wait for ages, and about 2 or 3 come together. And it's the same with these. I managed to get these on eBay. They are BR Mark 1 coaches in Western Region livery. And I do believe that I got number 75023, haven't I? Do you believe so? Yeah, 75023. So this would have likely have been allocated to the Western Region of British Rail. 75023. I was just looking at the box of the Bachmann one, but I don't seem to throw any further light on that. Like I say, apart from the slight wobble, there's a very nice little runner here going around the track. And we're going to watch this one come in over the points in a moment. Now I think probably I may do another feature on the Hornby Class 4, Standard Class 4. I'm going to take it apart and see whether or not that Star Class cog fits. It should be a straight swap, should be. If it does, then it means at least we can replace that cog. And I'll see what differences there are in the gear set, and see if a Star Class gear set could be adapted to go in there. Now, something which I forgot to mention when I was showing you the video about the repair I carried out on this locomotive to get it running smoothly, is that and this happened with Sam's strings as well. If you ever open one of these up, go careful, okay? Get some kitchen towel ready and some contact cleaner. For some reason, both mine and Sam's were covered in a really thick black greasy substance. The actual worm drive cover. And I got covered in it, and so did Sam, okay? So I would go to Sam's trains, like I say, he did a salvage or scrap period at one of these. He didn't actually save his class 4, to be honest with you. And he also managed to have a 3D printed chimney for his. Okay, and I believe that he then sold that model on eBay. So there you are, Sam's trains, salvage or scrap. And then you see a Hornby Class 4 being repaired, and you can see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the cover for the worm drive, and also the fact that it was covered in a really, really thick black sticky substance. Now the next view of the Bachmann locomotive is, I'm hopefully going to see this one coming to the station. Now bear in mind about the Bachmann, okay, it's got no pickups on the tender. The tender is just completely just goes onto a hook onto the back of the locomotive, okay. But we'll just see how this one handles my set of points. Just gonna have a quick change of points, and then we'll be well away. Okay, here we go. Seems to have sort of clambered over those points quite well. And the slow speed control is really good on this. Look, that was me with the controller. That's me with my hand fistedness. There we go. You can see how well it goes. And also you can see on this particular model, the coupling rods, they're kind of shiny. I don't know if some of you might even prefer that, because the reason I say that is because you can actually see them going round and round and round as it's running around the layout. Sorry about that, I just knocked into the camera. Okay, so let's do a recap. I've got my fingers in the way slightly then. Bit of a recap. Main difference is smoke box start, no smoke box start. Separately fitted parts here, but not here for that pipe work. The pipe work on the Bachmann is totally represented by moulded. It's just moulded in and painted green. It may have been on the real model when they were out shopped in that colour. But here you can see these are all separately fitted parts. And also down the side of the boiler there, separately fitted parts. This one's covered in separately fitted parts. Quick push the finger. Sprung buffers. No sprung buffers. Okay, so that's comparing the Hornby and the Bachmann. Right, so hopefully we're going to see the Hornby model gracefully leave the station now. Sorry about that. That's my track work there. That calls that. Let's come back and have another go. As you can see, perfectly smooth. Running backwards. Yeah, that's just my track work there. So, gracefully leave the station. So there might be a slight lack of continuity just momentarily. Just had to reset the camera just quickly then. Of course I'm learning how to use this camera, so it may be something I'm doing with it. So it just stopped, it suddenly stopped recording, and yet you switch it off and switch it on again, it records. So maybe a time limit on the camera. Might be because it's getting a bit warm in, because it is warm up here, to be honest with you. But it's a really nice camera, as you can see. I'm really enjoying using it. But anyway, we'll leave it there. If you like what you see, please press the like button and subscribe, okay? And ring that bell to make yourself aware of future videos. And I should bid you farewell and good afternoon.